Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm so grateful you're here because this is where the breakthroughs really happen. And what we're about to explore tonight has the potential to reshape the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you create your life from this moment forward. But before we dive in, let's see who we have in the house. Welcome to Christina, Heather, Jean Thoreau, Johnson, Kindpa, Leon, Passive Pathway, Sally Puckett, Tom Leonard. Welcome, welcome. Tonight's video dives into a teaching from Neville Goddard that is profoundly simple, yet radically transformative. The need to arrest your own thoughts. Now, when Neville uses a phrase like arresting, he's not talking about controlling your mind through force or fear. He's talking about something far deeper. The spiritual discipline of noticing the direction your thoughts are traveling and deliberately choosing to stop the ones that are leading you away from the life you desire. Neville understood something that most people never fully grasp. We have been taught to think that the world is reacting to our actions, but instead it reacts to your dominant assumptions. The thoughts you allow, the moods you entertain, the inner conversations you repeat, these are the silent prayers that you are constantly sending to the universe. And if we're truthful, most people go through life unconsciously rehearsing doubt, fear, limitation, and frustration. Then they wonder why their life keeps returning the same results. Well, Neville realized that unless he arrested the thoughts that contradicted his vision, he would continue to manifest the very things he didn't want. He had to stop mid-sentence, mid-feeling, mid-imagination, and redirect himself back to the state of the wish fulfilled. And that's what tonight's video is all about. A deeper look at that moment when Neville discovered that mastering his thoughts wasn't optional, it was essential. As you watch, I want you to keep one question in mind. What thoughts have I been allowing that no longer serve the life that I'm trying to create? Because if you can identify them, if you can pause long enough to capture them, if you can replace them with thoughts aligned with your desired outcome, then you unlock the very principle Neville lived by. Change your thinking, and your world must change with it. So let this video challenge you. Let it remind you that you are the gatekeeper of your mind, and your thoughts are the seeds of your future. And with that, let's go ahead and play tonight's video. Why Neville Goddard had to arrest his own thoughts.
You know, there's something I must confess to you tonight. Something that most teachers will never admit. Something that might shock you, given that I've taught this law since 1938. Given that I've spoken to hundreds of thousands on radio and television. Given that I've witnessed the entire biblical drama unfold within myself. Here it is. Every moment of time, I have to arrest my inner talking. Not sometimes, not occasionally, every single moment. Even now, after all these years of teaching, I still find myself in need of constant watchfulness. I become aware of negative inner conversations, and I must stop them and get back on the beam of positive thinking. So let that encourage you. If I, who have devoted my entire life to teaching this principle, still must watch my thoughts every moment of time, then my heart goes out to everyone who is not doing this professionally. Because what must you be doing in the course of a day? I tell you tonight, your inner conversations are creating your entire world. Not your affirmations, not your visualizations, not your techniques or your rituals. Your inner talking, the conversations you have with yourself all day long while you work, while you drive, while you shower, while you stand in line at the store. Those conversations are building your reality right now, word by word, thought by thought. And most of them are probably building exactly what you don't want. Let me share something with you that reveals the constant nature of this work. I receive letters, hundreds of them, sometimes thousands, from all across this country and beyond. And sometimes a letter will arrive where a dozen things have worked beautifully for the student through applying these teachings. Wonderful manifestations, clear evidence of the law working perfectly. But there's no gratitude in the letter. Just complaints about the one thing that hasn't manifested yet. Just criticism about the one desire still unfulfilled. And my immediate inner reaction, so what? Not compassion, not understanding, not patience. That sharp, dismissive response, so what? And the moment I become aware of what I'm doing, I have to stop it right away. I have to arrest that thought. I have to get back on the beam of positive thinking. This happens every day, multiple times a day. Because you see, we're talking animals. You can't stop talking. You get up in the morning, before you even see anyone, you're talking to yourself, aren't you? In your dreams, you're talking to yourself. All through the day, you're talking to yourself. And may I tell you, as one who takes this platform twice a week, who answers letters, who devotes his entire life to teaching this law in this strange and wonderful world of ours, I have to arrest my inner talking every moment of time. And I tell you from experience, after all these years, from 1938 to now, teaching on radio, where 26 states tuned in, on television, where perhaps 500,000 people watched every Sunday afternoon, I still find myself in need of constant watchfulness. It has not yet become so much a habit in my own life that I don't have to constantly watch. We are creatures of habit, and our habitual inner conversations are so deeply ingrained that even after decades of conscious work, they try to reassert themselves. So don't condemn yourself. Don't think you're doing something wrong because you catch yourself in negative inner speech. Everyone is watching and watching, or they should watch and watch. But here's what you must understand. If I, who was singled out to be raised from the dead, to discover David as my son, to experience the entire promise, if I still need to watch my thoughts daily, this tells you something profound. This is the work. This is what consciousness requires. Not perfection, but persistent return to the wish fulfilled. The promise of 5 minutes. Now let me tell you something that will liberate you from the tyranny of perfection. You don't need to maintain perfect mental discipline from sunrise to sunset. I tell you, if in the course of a day you waste your time, spend 5 minutes in constructive inner conversations. It will overcome so much of the negative. Just 5 minutes. Sit down quietly with yourself and carry on wonderful inner conversations from the premise of fulfilled desire. Hear what you would hear if your desire were already fulfilled. See what you would see. Feel what you would feel. Have a conversation with a friend in your imagination, hearing them congratulate you, hearing them acknowledge your success, hearing them recognize the fulfillment of your desire. And may I tell you, no power in the world can stop it from coming to fulfillment. It must accomplish that which I please. Because we are told in the book of Isaiah, my word shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Every word. Not one word can return void if you send it out in faith. So you can spend 5 minutes in constructive inner conversation, and those 5 minutes will overcome hours of negative mental chatter. You see, people think they waste their time. They say, Neville, I tried all day, but I kept slipping back into negative thoughts. But I tell you, you didn't waste your time. If you spent even 5 minutes deliberately constructing conversations from the wish fulfilled. Those 5 minutes carry more creative power than 23 hours and 55 minutes of unconscious negative chatter, because your inner conversations are God's word, and God's word always accomplishes its purpose. I am not telling you this as theory. I have proven this thousands of times, both in my own life and in the lives of my students. 5 minutes of speaking from the wish fulfilled will redirect your entire creative power, will set the law in motion, will begin the rearrangement of your world. That is the promise. And I have never seen it fail when applied with persistence, the telephone technique. Let me tell you about one of my students who understood this principle better than most. She developed what she called the telephone technique, and she told me it never fails. Here's what she did. A friend would call, pouring out negativity, problems, complaints, how bad things were, and how they were destined to get worse. Now, most people would listen sympathetically. They would absorb all that negativity. They would agree with the friend's assessment. They would commiserate. And then for hours afterward, they would carry those negative conversations in their own minds. But this woman knew what I had taught her. She knew that whatever she accepted inwardly would become her own experience. So as the conversation was happening right there, in real time, she revised it. She heard something completely different. Her friend wanted to take an examination to become a court reporter. On the phone, she gave 9 reasons why she could never pass the test. She said, I don't have enough training. I'm too old. The competition is too fierce. I've never been good at tests. I don't have enough time to study. The exam is too difficult. People have tried for years and failed. I'm not smart enough. It's impossible. 9 complete reasons why she would fail. But my student ignored those words completely. She didn't argue. She didn't try to convince her friend otherwise. She simply revised the conversation in her own imagination. She heard her friend say, I passed the test with flying colors. And she heard it with such conviction, with such reality, that for her it was already done. For 6 weeks, while her friend remained negative about the examination, while her friend continued to doubt and worry, my student persisted in hearing the success. She would think of her friend and hear, I passed. Can you believe it? I actually passed. And her friend passed, exactly as she had heard it in her imagination. But that's not all. Another friend wanted her old job back. She had worked there 10 years before, but had left. Now they were hiring again, but it seemed impossible. The company had a policy. They rarely rehired former employees. And even if they did, they certainly wouldn't give credit for prior service. So this woman did her telephone technique again. When her friend called, worried and doubtful, she heard something entirely different. She heard her friend tell her with joy and excitement, they not only gave me the job with a large salary increase, but I am receiving credit for the 10 years I worked there before, which will be added to my retirement. She heard the excitement in her friend's voice. She heard the disbelief at how perfectly it had worked out. She heard the gratitude. 1 week later, that exact conversation happened. Word for word, the same tone of excitement, the same disbelief at how well it worked. Everything she had heard in her imagination manifested exactly. And then one more that she shared with me. Her friend's maid weighed 25 pounds more than she wanted to. The doctor told her she must lose the weight. She had tried and tried but could not lose a pound. Every diet failed. Every exercise program was abandoned. The weight simply would not come off. So my student, knowing this law, simply heard her say, I now weigh 140 pounds. Not, I'm trying to lose weight. Not, I hope to weigh 140 someday. But I now weigh 140 pounds as a statement of present fact. She left the city for 2 months. When she returned, the maid called saying, I have been trying to contact you to tell you that I have lost weight. I couldn't find you when I weighed 140, but now I weigh 139. 3 for 3. The telephone technique never failed. And I tell you why. Because she understood that you need not wait until the day's end to change your thought. Why not revise the conversation as you hear it? If the words are not what you want to hear, don't listen to them. Don't accept them. Don't absorb them into your consciousness. Put on that same wire the thoughts you want to hear come through. Hear what you desire to hear and believe it will come to pass. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful thinking. This is the creative power of God operating through your imagination. Your inner conversations are writing the script of reality, and you can rewrite that script at any moment. The man who loved his negativity. But now let me show you the opposite. The danger of knowing this law and refusing to apply it. I had a student who came to my lectures regularly, week after week, year after year. He knew this law. He understood that inner conversations create reality. He had heard me teach this principle hundreds of times. Yet every single morning while shaving, he would carry on the same inner conversation. He would mentally tell off President Roosevelt. He didn't know Roosevelt, had never met him, had no connection to him whatsoever, but he simply disliked him. And for 15 minutes every morning, while looking in the mirror and shaving, he would have this elaborate inner argument with a man he'd never met. He would tell him exactly what he thought of his policies. He would argue with him. He would criticize him. He would build a complete case against him. And here's what makes this revealing. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He would catch himself in the middle of this mental argument and think he should stop. He knew I had taught him better. He knew he was creating his own resistance and conflict. But then he'd say, well, let me finish this sentence anyway. Just one more thought, just complete this argument, then I'll stop. But of course he never stopped because he enjoyed it. He told me, Neville, the shows on Broadway today are $10 a seat. There is no show on Broadway that could give me the thrill of those 15 minutes in the morning when I shave. He actually enjoyed his negativity more than a Broadway show. He found such pleasure in criticism, in argument, in conflict. He thought he was alone. He thought no one could see. He thought it didn't matter because it was only in his mind. But I tell you, that inner conversation wasn't neutral entertainment. It was creating his reality every morning for 15 minutes, building a world of conflict, resistance, and opposition. Because your inner conversations don't care whether they're about someone you know or someone you'll never meet. They don't care whether you think they're harmless or serious. They're creating, always creating, every word, every thought, every mental argument. And this man was spending 15 minutes every single day creating exactly what he didn't want. A world full of people who opposed him, who resisted him, who argued with him, all while knowing better, all while attending my lectures, all while understanding the law perfectly. Because knowing isn't enough. You have to do it. And doing it means catching yourself, stopping yourself, even mid-sentence, even when it gives you pleasure, even when you want to finish the thought. You must put on a new record, as it says in Scripture. If any man thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, that man's religion is in vain. And I tell you, your inner tongue is far more powerful than your outer tongue, putting off the old man. Now we come to something deeper that I must share with you. In Ephesians we are told, put off the old nature which belongs to the former conversations and put on the new nature. The old nature is sometimes translated the old man, and the new nature is sometimes translated the new man. I equate the old nature with the former conversations and the new man with the new conversations. So he identifies the inner speech with man's nature. Your nature is your inner talking. Think about that. Your very identity, who you are at the deepest level, is determined by your habitual inner conversations, not your outer circumstances, not your past, not what others say about you, but what you say to yourself about yourself all day long. So if you walk the street, or you ride the bus, or you sit alone in your room, you are still talking. At every moment of time, you are talking. And all you need to do to find out what you have been saying is to look at your world. Your world reflects this inner speech perfectly. I have seen it every moment of time. The correspondence is exact. Now, I am not going to tell you I have not faltered. I would not for one moment tell you that I am always in control of the inner conversations. The phone rings, something happens that you've asked people not to do over and over, and your reaction may not be quite the right one, but you reacted anyway. No one heard it, but you heard it, and your Father heard it, the consciousness that sees all, knows all, creates all, and you are going to build your world based on exactly what you've done. So you watch it morning, noon, and night. You watch what you're saying about yourself, about others, about your circumstances, about your desires. Because the conversation is equated with your nature. You can change your world only by changing the conversation. When you put off the old conversations, you put off the old man. When you put on new conversations, you put on the new man. And he will show you the salvation of God. This is not metaphor. This is not symbolic language. Your inner speech is your identity. Change the speech, change the identity. Change the identity, change the world. The old man speaks from lack, from limitation, from fear, from complaint. The new man speaks from fulfillment, from abundance, from confidence, from gratitude. So I ask you, what conversations are you maintaining? What old patterns of speech are keeping the old man alive? Because he can only live as long as you continue speaking his language. The moment you stop, the moment you tear up that old record and put on the new one, that's when transformation begins. Not someday, not eventually. The moment you change the conversation, forces are set in motion. Now, before we go deeper, let me tell you about something that can help you with this practice. There's a guide called the Manifest Reset. 5 simple mental shifts that help you return to the state of the wish fulfilled, naturally, without force, without pressure. These aren't complicated techniques. They're resets, quick redirects you can use the moment you notice your inner conversations going negative. To receive this guide, just comment the word reset below. Comment reset right now. Because if I need to watch my thoughts every moment of time after 30 years of teaching, you deserve practical tools that make this work sustainable. The barber who became the boss. Let me tell you about a friend of mine who understood this principle perfectly. He had a barber, 4th chair in a 4-chair shop, the low man on the totem pole. You see, in a barber shop there's a hierarchy. The boss always has the 1st chair. If it's a slow day and only one customer comes in, the boss gets that customer. The 2nd chair barber waits. The 3rd chair waits. And the 4th man, he waits the longest. But this 4th chair barber was different. He was proud of his profession. He loved cutting hair. He took pride in his work. He wanted to be the very best barber, to win competitions, to rise to the top of his craft. And my friend, who had been studying with me and understood this law, one day happened to sit in his chair. He liked the way the barber cut his hair. But more than that, he gathered from what the barber said that he loved his work, that he had ambition, that he wanted to be more. So my friend, knowing this law, imagined him at the top. Not just during a formal visualization session, not just once and then forgetting about it, but in his ongoing inner conversations about this man. Every time he thought of him, every time he spoke of him to himself, he spoke of him inwardly as successful, as the best, as the owner, as the boss. And here's what happened. In a little while, not years, not decades, but in a little while, that 4th chair barber bought out the boss barber. He purchased the shop. Then he dismissed the former boss, rearranged his staff, and became the top man. 3 weeks ago, while sitting in his chair, which is now the 1st chair, the owner's chair, because this man is now the boss, my friend told me the story. From the 4th chair to ownership, from the low man to the top man, not through scheming, not through manipulation, not through years of grinding effort, just through the power of one person's inner conversations. One person who consistently spoke of him as successful in their mind. And here's what you must understand. This barber didn't even know my friend was doing this. He wasn't aware that someone was holding him in their imagination as successful, as rising, as becoming the owner. Yet it happened anyway. Because I tell you, your inner conversations don't just create your own reality. They create reality for everyone you think about. When you speak of someone in your mind, you're setting forces in motion that will rearrange their entire world. So watch what you say about others, not for moral reasons, not because it's nice or kind, but because your inner conversations about them carry creative power. If you speak of them as successful, you're contributing to their success. If you speak of them as limited, you're contributing to their limitation. If you speak of them as healthy, you're helping to create their health. If you speak of them as sick, you're reinforcing their sickness. Your inner speech is that powerful, not just for yourself, but for everyone who enters your thoughts. It never becomes automatic. Now, I must tell you something I wish more teachers would be honest enough to admit. After all these years, it has not yet been so much a habit in my own life that I don't have to constantly watch. I have taught this principle across radio, reaching 26 states every week. I have taught on television to 500,000 people every Sunday afternoon. I have filled lecture halls in cities across this country. I have written books, I have witnessed thousands upon thousands of manifestations through my students. And I still have to watch, still have to catch myself, still have to course correct, not because I'm doing it wrong, but because this is the work. This is what consciousness requires. Everyone is watching and watching, or they should watch and watch. Not just in the beginning when you first learn this law, not just until you get your first results, not just until you've proven it to yourself, always, every day, every moment. Because you can't stop talking to yourself. It's happening right now as you listen to me. Inner commentary, inner conversations, constant internal speech. You're agreeing with something I said, or questioning it, or thinking about how it applies to your life, or wondering if it will work for you. All of that is inner conversation, and all of it is creative. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. Don't spend one split second in justifying failure. Don't analyze why you had that negative thought. Don't beat yourself up for slipping back into old patterns. Come right back to what you want and not dwell on what you don't want. Just put on the new record immediately, without hesitation, without self-condemnation. Do it, and finally it will become easier. The new conversations will flow more naturally. You'll catch yourself faster. The gaps between slipping and recovering will get shorter. But after all these years, it has not yet been so automatic in my life that I don't have to constantly watch. So everyone must watch and watch. We are all in this together. We all must maintain vigilance. But here's the lovely thing, and this should encourage every one of you. If I, who can confess to you that I must watch my thoughts constantly, could still be singled out to be raised from the dead, to discover David is my son, to experience the birth from above, the resurrection, the ascension, how infinitely merciful is God. He is not looking for perfect mental discipline. He is not demanding that you never slip. He is not requiring flawless execution. He is looking for persistent return, for the willingness to keep coming back, for the refusal to give up, because fitness is the consequence of grace, not the condition of grace. When he gave me himself, he fitted me for it, not because I had earned it through perfect thought control, but because he chose to give it. Every word accomplishes its purpose. And now I tell you the promise that makes all of this worth it. We are told in Isaiah, my word shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Every word. Not just the perfect ones carefully crafted in meditation. Not just the ones spoken with great emotion during sats. Not just the affirmations you repeat with conviction. Every single word you speak inwardly will accomplish its purpose. The negative ones will accomplish their purpose too. That's why we must watch them. But the words spoken from the wish fulfilled, the words spoken in faith, the words spoken as though your desire were already fact, those words carry divine creative power. They cannot fail. They cannot return void. They must accomplish what they were sent to do. This is not metaphor. This is not poetic language. This is mechanical law. So when you spend 5 minutes in constructive inner conversation, just 5 minutes deliberately carrying on conversations from the premise of fulfilled desire, those 5 minutes carry more creative power than you can imagine. Those words go forth. They do not return void. They accomplish exactly what you please, and no power in the world can stop them. Not your doubts afterward, not your circumstances, not other people's opinions. The word has been sent, and it must accomplish its purpose. I have proven this thousands of times. I have watched students prove it again and again. The woman with the telephone technique, she spoke the word, and it accomplished its purpose 3 times in a row. The friend who imagined the barber as successful, he spoke the word consistently, and it accomplished its purpose. Every single case I've shared with you tonight demonstrates this law. Your word does not return void. So yes, you'll slip back into old conversations. Yes, you'll catch yourself in negative patterns. Yes, you'll have moments where you forget everything I've taught you. But the moment you notice it, the very moment you become aware, you can speak a new word. And that new word will accomplish what it pleases right now, in this moment, not someday in the future. Your word is going forth, creating, building, manifesting. Every conversation you have with yourself is writing the next chapter of your life. So make it a conversation worthy of the life you want to live. Integration. So here we are. I've shared with you tonight the truth that most teachers hide. Even after 30 years of teaching this law, I must watch my thoughts daily. I must arrest negative inner conversations the moment I become aware of them. 5 minutes of constructive conversation overcomes hours of negative chatter if those 5 minutes are spent deliberately in the wish fulfilled. You can revise conversations in real time as they happen. You don't have to wait until day's end. The moment you hear negativity, you can hear something else instead. One habitual negative conversation, like the man who argued with Roosevelt every morning, can poison your entire creation, building a world of conflict and resistance. Your inner conversations are your identity. The old man is kept alive by old conversations. The new man emerges through new conversations. Change the speech, change the self. Change the self, change the world. This work never becomes completely automatic. I still watch. You still watch. We all must watch constantly and consistently. And every word you speak inwardly accomplishes its purpose. Not one word returns void. Your inner speech is God's creative power in action. But here's the bigger picture that I want you to grasp. You are not broken because you struggle with this. This is the work. This is what consciousness requires. I have taught since 1938. I have touched hundreds of thousands of lives. I have experienced the entire biblical promise. The birth, the discovery of David as my son, the resurrection, the ascension into the Father. And I still must arrest my inner talking every moment of time. Not because I'm failing, but because consciousness requires constant vigilance. Your inner conversations are creating right now, while you're listening to me, while you're working tomorrow, while you're falling asleep tonight. Every word is building your world. So the question isn't, when will this become easy? The question is, what am I building right now with my inner speech? You have a choice. Every single moment, you have a choice. You can continue the old conversations, keep speaking as the old man, keep building the same reality you've always built, the one you say you want to escape. Or you can put on a new record, speak from the wish fulfilled, converse as the new man, build the reality you actually want, the one you claim to desire. Yes, you'll slip back. I slip back. We all slip back. Yes, you'll catch yourself in old patterns. I catch myself in old patterns daily. But the moment you notice it, one split second, you can change course. Put on the new record. Speak the new word. Return to the wish fulfilled. That's all it takes. That simple choice, repeated moment by moment, day by day, week by week. Not perfection, just persistent return. Because your inner conversations are not just creating your reality. They are your reality. The world you see, the circumstances you experience, the people you encounter, they are all your inner conversations made visible, made tangible, made manifest. Change the conversation, and you change everything. Listen, if what I've shared tonight has given you permission to be human while still being powerful, make sure you receive those practical tools. The Manifest Reset contains 5 specific practices you can use today. Right now, the moment you notice yourself spiraling into old conversations, it's designed for those who know the law but struggle with execution, who understand these teachings but feel exhausted trying to maintain perfect mental discipline. These 5 resets are your way back, your quick return to center, your permission to struggle without giving up. Comment reset below to receive the guide. When you do, you'll discover why the 3rd reset, letting go, doesn't mean giving up, breaks through more resistance than anything else. Because letting go of old conversations doesn't mean abandoning your desire. It means releasing the struggle, dropping the effort, returning to the natural state of already having. Comment reset now. Now, if understanding inner conversations has transformed how you see manifestation, you need to hear what Abdullah taught me about wealth that changed everything. There was one teaching he gave me, one secret about money and consciousness that I rarely spoke about publicly. But when I did, it unlocked financial abundance for every student who truly understood it. That video is showing up on your screen right now. The wealth secret, Abdullah, revealed to me that most people will never know. Watch it next. Because what you've learned tonight about inner conversations will make that wealth teaching 10 times more powerful. Your inner speech is creating your reality. Make it count.
Let's excuse me. Let's apply this law to your daily walk of life. What is your self-talk about your business? Are you telling yourself that you don't know who to talk to? Are you saying it's hard, that nobody wants to listen, that people aren't interested? Are you rehearsing the idea that you don't know what to do or how to do it? Your inner conversations are not just thoughts. Your inner speech is the Word of God expressing through you the creative force shaping the outcomes you eventually walk into. Your inner conversations not only affect you, but everyone who comes into your thoughts. If you are having inner conversations of fear, doubt, difficulty, and failure, it will surely come to pass. James 1:8 says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." In other words, a person who wavers between two conversations, belief and doubt, faith and fear, success and failure, becomes unstable, inconsistent, and ineffective in every area of life. You can work harder than everyone around you, but if your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, frustration, or fear, your results will always mirror your inner world. You cannot speak defeat inside and expect victory outside. So the moment you catch yourself slipping into negative inner conversations, stop and replace them with new ones, life-giving ones, conversations that speak from the end, from the success already achieved. Instead of, "I don't know who to talk to," say, "The right people are being drawn to me every day." Instead of saying, "It's so hard," say, "This business flows easily to me. I am guided and supported." Instead of, "Nobody wants to listen," say, "People are excited to hear what I have to share. I attract the willing, the ready, and the motivated." Instead of, "I don't know how," say, "God reveals the next step to me clearly and consistently. I always know what to do." Instead of saying no one is joining, say, "Every day my team grows. Every day new members show up ready to sow and reap." Instead of, "I don't think I'm good at this," say, "I'm becoming more confident, more skilled, and more effective every single day." Instead of, "I'm afraid to fail," say, "Success is already mine. I am walking into what God has already prepared." Your business, like your relationship, health, finances, and destiny, is built first in the privacy of your mind, long before you see anything on the outside. So ask yourself, what am I saying about my business? What story am I feeding with my imagination? What future am I rehearsing internally? Because that silent inner conversation is the blueprint your outer life is following. Change your story, tell yourself, and the world around you will change to match it. Speak as if doors are already open. Imagine as if people are already saying yes. Affirm as if growth is unstoppable. Feel as if success is already done. When you master your inner speech, you master your results. Everything begins inside, and everything you desire waits on the other side of a new conversation with yourself. Before we close tonight, let's take a few minutes to reflect together. This is where the real transformation happens, not just hearing the message, but applying it to your own life. Feel free to unmute yourself and join in the conversation here. Let's start with this question. What thought patterns have you been allowing that contradict the life you want? These might be worry about money, doubt about your ability to succeed, fear of rejection, old stories from your past, negative self-talk. Neville taught that awareness is the first step. Once you see the thought, you can stop it. So identifying it is already a victory. And even when you're dreaming at night, maybe you wake up to get a drink of water or go to the bathroom, and then you lay back down and you want to get back into that dream. Instead, imagine the thing that you desire. Switch from the dream to what you want to create. Go into your positive self-talk, as positive conversation. And then as you fall back to sleep, that is what you'll be creating. What would you like your life to look like if you arrested those thoughts and replaced them with the right ones? So again, feel free to unmute and comment or ask a question, but how would you feel? What would open up for you? How would opportunities shift? How would your relationships or finances change? This is the state of the wish fulfilled. When you choose new thoughts, you choose a new state of being, and your outer world has no choice but to follow. So Neville says to go to the end, put yourself in the actual situation that you want to create. In other words, you're not asking how, you're not seeking the steps to get you from there to where you are to where you want to be. That's not what it's about. When you put yourself in the end result of where you want to be, the steps will fall into place. You will be inspired to what actions that you need to take, the people you need to talk to, and things will literally begin to flow toward that end result. So what is the new dominant assumption that you are choosing from this moment forward? Examples. Money flows to me easily, effortlessly, and consistently. I am chosen and favored. Everything is working out for me. I am walking into abundance. I am aligned with God's perfect plan. So each time a negative thought arises, you catch yourself in a negative conversation, immediately stop and mentally erase that conversation, and then say something positive. Either money flows to me easily, effortlessly, consistently, or just create a conversation that leads to the result that you want to experience. Then say, when you speak it, you claim it. When you repeat it, you reinforce it. When you feel it, you manifest it. How can we support each other in maintaining these new thought patterns? Now, this creates community, accountability, sharing affirmations with each other, checking in midweek, inviting each other to webinars, surrounding ourselves with people who uplift our thinking. We should always be looking for positive things to listen to watch, rather than just turning on the television, the social media, whatever, and getting caught up in what's going on. We should literally seek out good, positive information that helps to build us and helps us to stay on track. Neville taught that imagination and community are powerful forces. When you surround yourself with people who believe in your vision, your mind stays aligned with your destiny. Each of us has the power to shift our inner world and watch our outer world transform accordingly. So let's walk in this power together. And let's go ahead and close in prayer. Heavenly Father, we close this session with gratitude for the wisdom we've received tonight. We acknowledge the responsibility to guard our minds and shape our lives according to your promises. Help us arrest every thought that rises up against our purpose. Teach us to recognize the patterns that limit us and to release them with faith and confidence. Fill our minds with visions of abundance, peace, healing, and divine possibility. Strengthen our imagination so we see ourselves the way you see us, whole, complete, blessed, capable, and aligned with our highest destiny. Tonight, let your peace fill our hearts. Let your wisdom guide our steps. Let your love surround us like a shield. Let your favor go before us. May every person listening tonight experience a shift internally, spiritually, emotionally, that brings them closer to their highest purpose and their greatest good. We thank you for this moment, for this teaching, and for the privilege of awakening to who we truly are. And so we move forward with gratitude, with vision, with confidence, and with divine expectation. In your holy name we pray. Amen.